So, September 19th of 2020 was the day that I got my driver's license. It's actually coming up on 4 years, which is pretty crazy. And I'm bringing this up because I know getting your driver's license might seem, as you get older, it seems so normal, it seems so regular, but for me, it was a very, very big deal. Um, Growing up, I was always a very insecure kid. I was always a very self conscious, very sensitive, very. I've always struggled with low self esteem and confidence. Um, and so and this was actually my second attempt. My first attempt was actually a month prior, and I failed because I was so nervous. But I remember when I failed, unlike unlike years prior, where like if I failed, I was like, "Oh my god, I suck. I am terrible. I am I shouldn't even try again." When I failed my driver's test the first time, I was bummed out, sure, but I was like, "Let's go again. I want to try again because I know I can succeed this time." And growing up, I just it's not ego. It's not like it's just like growing up I never had that belief in myself. I always just, like I said, I always struggled with low self-esteem. I've always had like a very like negative inner critic. um and I've always just like, and growing up in an environment where like I was constantly being criticized, I was constantly like being made fun of and like being told that I was like stupid, and like everything that I did was stupid. um I was always just like struggled to like feel like anything I did or who I was as a person like was like good enough, or that I had any potential. Um and this all ties back to like I talked about my body image video recently, where back in 20, like in that same year of 2020, it was earlier in the year, I lost around 30 pounds. I lost around 30 pounds, and I it was the first time where I felt like a person. I felt like I am a person. My and I felt like I am a person whose feelings matter. I feel when I I remember when I looked in the mirror and I saw my own reflection, and I didn't hate what I saw. I didn't I didn't hate what I saw looking back at me, because you're like, my whole life growing up, every time I would look in the mirror, even if I wasn't aware of it, I would always look at myself with disgust. I would always look at myself with contempt, with so much hatred. But I remember when I it was the first time where I looked in the mirror ever since I lost weight. I looked in the mirror and I saw myself looking back, and it wasn't even like, "Oh my god, I'm so skinny." It was just like, because I started like taking care of myself, because I started to like view myself as like worthy of being treated fairly and worthy of I saw my I it wasn't even like, "Oh, I'm so beautiful. I'm so like, oh my god, I'm so beautiful." It was just like, "Oh my god, I saw myself as a person," is what I'm trying to say. I saw myself and I was like, "I matter." And it's not even and I know this sounds very self-aggrandizing, very like egotistical and arrogant, but like what I'm trying to get at is like, this isn't even me saying like, "Oh, if you want to feel confident, like lose weight." That's not what I'm saying at all. But like what I'm saying is like, and this is just from my experience only, is like when I lost that weight, I was like, "Holy shit." I when I started taking care of myself, I was like, I I felt, when I started having that like respect for myself, and I started like to see myself as like a person whose feelings matter and who's like it was the first time where like I achieved something, and that led back to like that helped me like have that belief in myself. That's what I'm trying to get at. So when I failed my driver's test that first time, because I realized when I actually achieved that goal earlier, when I lost that weight and I achieved that goal, I was like, I failed, but that's okay. That's okay. That doesn't mean there's something that doesn't mean it's the end. That doesn't mean anything. It means something. It does, but it doesn't mean like you shouldn't try again, because, and I know this sounds all like add in the motivational emotional music, like don't give up, believe in yourself. But what I'm saying is like I used to view failure as like this such a detrimental thing of like I used to view with such shame and such like I used to have a negative viewpoint towards failure. But when I failed the first time, and I was like, all right, I'm signing up again, and I'm going to achieve this goal this time, and I'm going to. And then when I got in September, I remember if you've ever taken driver's test, it's very nerve-wracking. This was in the middle of COVID, by the way. This was like in the heat of COVID, and like, you know, I had to be all masked up, and I was like, I was still nervous, but I was like, you got this, man. You got this. I remember just like, you know, we got back to the DMV, we got back to the site, and my test instructor was like, all right, you passed. And I was like, it was just such a, and I know this may seem like such a minor thing to some people, like getting your driver's license, but to me at the time, that's one of I still say, and I know it may sound silly, but like I still say that's one of my greatest achievements in my life, because it was one of the first times where I was like, I felt like I did something with my life, and I felt like I was like, I did it. I achieved something. I'm not, you know, I always thought I was nothing. I always thought I was like this. I always used to view myself as a nobody. And like, I thought I was nothing. And this isn't me saying like I'm like, oh, but but actually I'm somebody, and I'm the best now. But it's like, it's just me saying like, I'm not nothing. I'm not worthless. And I am somebody. Not in an egotistical way, but I can do the things. I can achieve these things if I set my mind to them. And that's what I wanted to that's what I hope any of you watching this video get out of it, is like, as someone who grew up always feeling like I could never, like, always looking at other people and saying like, I could never do that. I had all these like things that I wanted to do, but I was like, I can't do that. Like, I'm not as good as them. I'm not like, they're way more talented. They're way better than me. But and again, it's not, and again, I think that's where like comparison is like very unhealthy. That's where it can get like really unhealthy and really just like because you have your I'm getting into my motivational side. I'll stop that. But what I'm saying is like, I thought that I could never achieve anything. And I'm not saying like, oh, I have it all figured out now. No, fuck no. I still struggle with that on a daily basis, but when I have those days where I'm like, I'm just like, I can't do this, I always think back to that moment and I'm like, there's proof. There's proof. It's not even like hyping yourself up of like, oh yeah, I can fucking do it. I can fucking do it. It's just like, there's proof. There's proof. And again, like, when you first, like, it's just like, and that first step is always the hardest. I'm not exaggerating. For me, it was just about like I wanted a change in my life because I hated myself so much. And I just was like, I've made so many excuses in my life. I've made so many empty promises in my life. I've been telling myself like, oh, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna change, but I never did. So so I was just like, I just got fed up with myself, and I was like, look, motherfucker, you gotta change. If you want to improve, you have to take the first step. And so I did. And that's all it was just like, I'm fucking sick and tired of my own bullshit, of my own lying to myself. I'm so fucking sick of it. I'm so sick of myself. I'm so sick of like these lies that I'm telling myself that I was just like, nope, I'm fucking doing it. Your brain tells you the most convincing lies. And so when I finally did it, when I finally was like, I was like, oh, I can do it. And so that's what I want anybody watching this, if you're still watching towards the end, to like take out of it, is like, when I say like believe in yourself, like, the first step is always the hardest. But when you have those days where you're like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this thing that I want to do, think back to that moment of like, where you did. There's proof. You can show yourself, because your brain is going to be like, no, you can't do that. You can just like think back to that moment of like, here's proof, here's proof, here's proof, here's your proof. And your brain is going to be like, what? No! Got you, motherfucker. There's proof. I fooled you. I got you. I proved to you that there's proof. I can do this thing. I can do it. I've proven it before. And now it's just about, I can do it again. So I hope you all took something out of this video. Yeah, believe in yourself. Yeah. Bye, guys.